Hi, everyone. So recently, Marie and I were up in Oregon, and we did a Renaissance fair as vendors. We did a Renaissance fair as vendors. We had a booth. We were selling my book. And you may know this already because more recently than that, we did a video about it, right? Marie sat right here, I sat here, and we just talked about it. We took a bunch of pictures, and we made a slide. We didn't take a bunch. We took some pictures, fewer than I thought we took. But we made a little slideshow, and we just went through it and looked at them and just chatted about our memories. And then when it was over and I was putting the video together, I also did some drawings and just scanned them and put those into the slideshow too, just to sort of augment the visuals so it wouldn't be so boring. But this is the book that we were selling, The Crown and the Cage God, Book 1, Part 1. That's the paperback. It also comes in hardback. Feel free to collect both in bulk. But during the fair itself, we were really early. And so as people were arriving, we were one of the first booths, tents, whatever, that people would come to. It's like, well, what are you selling? Well, this one item, a total of one item I am selling. And well, what's it about? Everyone asks that. What's it about? And most people, if you've written a book or you have a movie, you have some sort of story, you have a sales pitch, like your elevator speech or whatever. And I don't. I didn't have one of those. I just like that just feels robotic and like inhumane to not have a human conversation where I communicate with the person who's standing across from me talking live in that moment with thoughts that are being born, in the present. And so that's what I was doing. The first person comes up and asks, and I say whatever. Whatever comes to mind in that moment is my sales pitch. And then the next person comes up and asks the same question, and I give like a totally different whatever. And then the third person, the fourth person, and I mean, at some point, the turnover of people, it starts to feel like speed dating or something, where people are just coming through and they're asking you the same question. But I didn't want to say the same thing to all of them because it would have just felt like I would have been repeating myself. That's why I would have felt that way, and it would have been awkward. But eventually, I just decided, by the 15th person or something like that, I settled on some pickup lines. Not for the fair, right? Not like in a creepy, like sexual sweepstakes or whatever, but for the fair, my little sales pitch, I just settled on some lines. And the main one that I started repeating to people, because they didn't know that I said it to the last person, was it's fantasy for adults. That was the main line that one time so on one of the days, Marie and I decided, like, it's so like magical there and people are so in character. I mean, there's like wizards and there's warriors and warrior princesses and fairies and like clergy members of some specific thing and plague doctors. I mean, there's like pirates. There's all these, and they're all in character and speaking the voice. And so there's to sort of like tune our heartstrings to that key, the key of that particular symphony. Marie and I did a couple, 1 or 2 milligrams of THC and just like microdosing it, just to really get in the mood and feel the magic and be lighthearted about it and communicate with people in those sorts of spirits. And it didn't really go because like somebody came up like, what's it about? And I arrived at my fantasy for adults line, but that's not what I said. I said, it's adults for fantasy? Wait, no. It's fantasy for, and so I was just like kind of adult. I'm like, let's not add any more, milligrams, and let's not do this again. Let's just try to be present, even if it's less magical and we're out of key, or sort of our tuning is a little bit off with the community. But that was the one line, and then I would change it as I went, depending on the person. So if somebody's like 15 years old, I'm just not even going to sell the book to them. I'm like, thanks for stopping by. It looks like you're having a good time. I love your, whatever your wizard costume and stuff, but. You probably would be great at LARPing with that. You have a little conversation, compliment them, and then like enjoy the rest of the fair because they're just not going to connect with it, right? They're not going to, the philosophy isn't going to kind of ring deeply to them because they're not at a point in life where it's applicable. They aren't going to empathize with the character. So it's like 15, 17, 18. I just don't think they're going to connect with it. But somebody who's like 23, 24, 25, they're probably entering that area of life where they can start to understand a lot of the philosophy and the perspectives and the characters, and they might connect with it a little bit more. But what I say to somebody who's 23, 24, 25 is very different from what I say to somebody who's like 83, 84, 85. Or if somebody's really dressed up, not that dressed up, they're very enthusiastic in their voice, or they're sort of like calm and contemplative or whatever. I change it a little bit. I'm going to talk about that next week. I decided what I settled on for sort of malleable sales pitch, I decided I'm just going to do a journal about it. So that's going to be next week, is going to be the journal. And I'll read it and chat about it a little bit more. But for today, what I want to do is show you this, right? So this is my progress update for book 1, part 2. Again, this is book 1, part 1. And book 1, part 2, you don't need to just look at the thing behind me. Let me show a picture. So this, TC, I don't know what it's doing here. Call 011, I don't think that's a phone number. Okay, I don't know how it like figures out all this stuff, but TCA, TCG, book 1, part 2, this is my progress report there. It ends in chapter 215. So book 1, part 1 is chapters 1 to 84. Book 1, part 2 is chapters 85 to 215. They're all written. Every one of those chapters is already written. I'm just going through the second, like the penultimate revision. And when I've crossed them out, that means I've already revised that chapter like penultimately. Right? I have one more round of revision after this. But this is, I will talk in the future about, I have some qualms about beta readers and this idea of writing by, committee. But I do need people to just read, a few people to read it. And like if something like, it doesn't really make sense to me what you were saying there. But there's a couple of little spots of polishing that I'm going to need to do based on people's reading. And so that's where I'm going through all of this. Once I hit number 215, I send it to the beta readers. Once the beta readers are done reading, the book is done. Right now, I can do one of these a day. I can edit one a day pretty reliably, but life is obstructive. Life gets in the way, and I can't just be sure that life will go on unobstructed until I finish, chapter 215. And so my goal is maybe 3.5 a week. So, a half a chapter a day, something like that. Maybe I can get a little bit faster than that, but that's my goal. That gives you some concept of the pacing that I'm going through. But that's it. That's all I wanted to show you today and share with you. And that'll be in the background. So my ongoing progress report should just live behind me in some future videos. But I hope your life is unobstructed, and I hope all of your plans go ahead of plan, that you achieve them before you thought you would, because life just permitted ease throughout all of it. Okay, that's it. I'll see you next time.